Dirt Trax is sponsored by Can-Am. The ride says it all. Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation. And by Yamaha. Conquer Outdoors.
The internet. It can be a pretty interesting place to find some crazy off-road videos. And one of the undeniable celebrities of the web finds himself deep in the skeg every time he rides. And by the number of views his videos get, I'm guessing that you already know who I'm talking about.
First run, he was in two-wheel drive by accident, so he's ready, four-wheel drive. When we first, we lived near Saskatchewan, and we had a couple, that's where the name actually came from. It's part of my, first part is my first part of my last name, and the last part we own a couple old Land Cruisers. That's where the cruiser came from. And we'd go and smash around with some friends, and it started just taking pictures, and then I got a little picture camera that did video also. So we do a little video and made a YouTube account in 2006, I think, and would just upload to, so your buddies could see how they did and stuff like that. And then 2007, we moved up here, and no one really went out with trucks. Everyone had quads, so I bought my first Polaris 500.
With over 300,000 subscribers on YouTube and videos that have hit past 7 million views, Ostacruiser is pretty popular amongst the off-road community, but even amongst just regular viewers. And so I wanted to ask him, what's the secret behind all these videos?
I think a lot of people can identify with going out with your buddies and having a good time. Like there isn't a day when you go home and your guts don't hurt from laughing most of the day. Like you've seen a bit of our banter back and forth. Like it's the whole day like that. And trails we have are pretty, maybe not the same as other parts of the world. Like we've had the opportunity to go deep down in the south in the States, and it's just a completely different terrain as far as clay and gumbo, and our stuff up here, we have a lot of Muskeg, looser type soil that maybe you don't find other places, so maybe that brings a lot of viewers in. I think the builds too, you get new builds, new machine comes out, and you get opportunity to do a new build, and I think a lot of people kind of stay tuned for that. They're interested. Say like the Maverick X3 came out, they're interested in X3 and what it can do, what it can't do, stuff like that. I think that's a big part of it too. You see the forest fire went through here a couple years ago. It's a super burned out area. It's pretty crazy. It was pretty scary. It's not too far from where we live, but far enough where we weren't threatened. Right on, so yeah, I can't wait to get unloaded and get on the trail and see what it's like. I don't know. We haven't been up here since last fall, so who knows?
As Dave mentions Muskeg, or skeg as they call it, you gotta realize that this ain't your normal Sunday ride. This stuff is deep, it's thick, and even the biggest and baddest builds are gonna get stuck here.
Muskeg is like, it's like a floating mat of grass on top of water. So you get out into a muskeg meadow where the trail goes across, and you kind of have to be really ginger on the throttle. If you pin it, you cut through that mat and you're stuck. And no trees grow in muskeg, just the nature of the beast. They'd never be able to support themselves. There's nothing to winch to. So you get into a big open field like that, and you got to be really careful on the throttle. If you start to dig down, you got to jump off, help your machine, and keep it going. And then there's the part on the trails that's more like almost like a peat moss. What it is just decaying vegetation, and it's a looser type soil. A lot of times there's no tree roots or anything, because again, trees don't grow in that kind of stuff. And so that's what's great where we ride. A lot of times you can just really lay on the throttle, and usually there's no consequences because you're not going to hook a root and snap axles or blow diffs and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just a looser type rotting kind of vegetation. Like it doesn't really smell. Like everyone thinks it's the most horrible smell. It must smell. Looks like it stinks, but it doesn't really smell. It's just organic, I guess. A normal ride, say like if I hosted a ride kilometers wise, you'd be maybe 8 or 9, 10 kilometers tops for a whole day of work. And and sometimes you really got to fight for it. We've been riding with the same crew almost right from the start, and it's just a good bunch of guys, and someone breaks down or needs help, which we've had a lot of this last couple of days, and everyone's there to pitch in and help out. And without that, it wouldn't be any fun, right? If you're out there struggling by yourself. You need someone kind of there to crap talk you and keep you going and throw you the winch line. And it can be short distances and a lot of effort to get there, but at the end of the day, if you do make it, man, it's an accomplishment.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Princess Auto, a unique world of equipment, tools, and more.
While I was excited to ride in the skeg, the truth is, on this trip, I wanted to follow Ostacruiser and the rest of his crew and see exactly what kind of stuff would ensue.
People follow the videos, the older videos like A Trail and P Trail, and you've noticed lately the water, for whatever reason, just keeps rising higher and higher. So we haven't really rid much around here the last few years. So we've been kind of going up. A friend of ours has a cabin about an hour and a half from here north, and it's really good trails up there. Not a lot of people ride the trails in the summer up there, so you're kind of out there by yourself. A full year or year and a half ago, it would be not as much moisture on top. It would be typically a lot more dry, and it would be a lot easier to make it further than we did. Last fall, we seen quite a bit of moisture, and then so that would be about 7 months ago was the last time we were there. So we came here again hoping the moisture receded, and it was more than we've ever seen. So when you get really, really loose, juicy, there's just no traction, and you hit a rut and you're not going anywhere without winching. And with a smaller group, we could have made it around or whatever, but with what we had, we took a couple good shots at it, but you know, a lot of times the Muskeg wins.
It wasn't too long into the ride that I realized that Ostacruiser isn't your typical internet diva. This isn't an ego thing. It's really more of a group that's helped Ostacruiser come to where he is today.
Without you know, the good group of friends, it wouldn't be worth going out. Say me and my wife, if we go out, we get something new, we want to test something, we'll go out quick and test it. But as far as a group ride, that's 90% of the fun, is getting together with your friends, and it is super important to have good buddies. Like I said, we've had the same riding group for 9 going on 10 years now, and we've had that group because, like I said, everyone helps each other out. Everyone's got a good attitude. No matter what happens in the day, no one really throws in the towel. You just got to do what you got to do to get back home at the end of the day, get your machines back on the trailer, no matter what condition the machines are in. Yeah, that's a win. You can get back to the trailer. But yeah, I think the group aspect of it is one of the most important things.
One of the hallmarks of Ostacruiser are his crazy builds, and this season is nothing short of incredible. I mean, most people's pickup trucks don't have tires this big on them.
For this year, in the winter, we took the lift off so we could run the Trax, and turned out to be a bust. We didn't get any snow, so I didn't really put any miles on. So we got the Catboast lift back on, and last fall I threw those 34.5s on just to kind of see, not expecting them for the bike to turn them very well. And man, that XMR's got a lower geared transmission, and with STM clutches, it really turns them great. And so they went back on again this year. You get all that extra clearance and height, and it handles it good, and I haven't really broke anything yet. So we're just gonna keep running them. It's usually a really great, reliable machine. And like I said, there's features of it that help it in the deep skeg, deep water. The Maverick, we were trying to do a view of like a dual purpose build. So snorkel it, you know, clutch it, run bigger tires, run some better suspension, throw the 34.5s if you got a rally that you want to take your side-by-side to, be able to handle most stuff. If you want to come back and say in the fall, we want to try to make a trip to like Mohawk or something like that. So we're going to throw a halo locker in the front, some more trail-friendly type tires on it, and be able to have a build that basically you can almost do anything with, from muskeg to rock crawling, and then actually hit some sand dunes for what it's made for. Even if you threw the stock tires back on, man, she's a missile.
The first meadow that we made it to was pretty insane. I mean, we didn't make it in 100 yards and the skeg got juicy.
The plan for the day was, it's actually a really nice loop, like it'd be about an 8 or 10 kilometer loop, and it loops right back to almost where we launched from. And it's a great ride, and if you get through those first 2 meadows, you get onto a bit more of a trail, then it opens up again and then goes back to trail, and it's actually a really great ride. And would have been last spring was the last time we actually completed the loop. We tried twice last fall, and like I said, it's a lot more loose and a lot more water than it usually is, so it just makes everything a lot more tough. If you had, like I said, a smaller group with say four or five guys, you can move a lot quicker. You know, you get a couple machines out, a couple machines make it, and boom, you're on to the next one. But you get a bigger group, you start to get 10 or 12 guys or whatever. By the time you get 10 or 12 guys through the first hole, you know, there's a couple hours, next hole, there's a few more hours. A lot more looser and a lot more water laying around than I had anticipated. So it was tough. Oh man.
She's thick. Oh, so thick. Usually we make it a little further. She's nasty.
Well, so everybody running like 32s and 34s are getting stuck out here real bad. And we're running a sweet set of stock 27s. They might be 26s. Right now they're about 28s with the mud that's packed in, and she gone. It's stuck. So we're gonna pull it out. I mean, literally you could swim in the lower throttle area of this thing right now, but it did pretty good getting where it's going.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by MBRP Power Sports, race-inspired performance.
While we didn't make it very far in the first meadow, we did find a second one that offered up a bit of a contest. Was it us just wanting to see folks get stuck? Maybe, but it made for a really good afternoon.
Basically, we tried the first area, you know, it was a no-go, and winched out, it got turned around, and so we tried plan B, another trail we knew about, and it was no better. So basically, AJ threw up $50 to whoever could make it the furthest. And our one good buddy, Blackie, he runs nitrous and a big bore kit on his Renegade with assassinators, and he skimmed right over the first part, which was terrible, and made it to the solid stuff, and he was away. So I think he was the clear winner yesterday. We had another buddy, Derek, there with his Maverick, and he did really well too. He made it right over that and surprised me. I thought there was no way. I thought that thing was sinking down or whatever, but we've stuck a lot of bikes in that area and had to pull them out. And so yeah, plan B, it didn't pan out much better than plan A, but we had a good time, and everyone made it out alive, and most bikes made it out alive, so it was all good.
As we found out, everything doesn't always go as planned, but we had great help on this trip.
Yeah, I just want to give a big shout out to Fun for lending us a brand new Defender for these guys to carry around the camera equipment and to kind of hang along with us for the ride. And then we had a built-up demo Renegade, the red Renegade, out, and that thing just rips. And you know, it was awesome to ride that, having a backup bike. So, you know, mine went down, so it's pretty awesome. Not too often you get to hop on one that's built up just as much as yours and rip the rest of the day on that. So that was great to have.
And when it came to built up bikes, I was interested to ask Dave just exactly how built up your rig needs to be to ride in this kind of terrain.
You know, a guy doesn't have to dump $25,000 into a build to be able to ride. I used to ride a pretty much bone stock Polaris, and that's how I met a few of these guys actually. I just heard quads on a trail I knew about, and they were having the worst time, and I had no snorkels, and I showed up in a t-shirt, shorts, and like Crocs. Their eyes were this big when I pulled up with no snorkels, because they just spent 6 hours making it these 2 kilometers. And I knew the area a little bit also, but basically I made it up to them in about 15 minutes, and they were just like, how in the... But that's a big part of it, right? You don't need the biggest, baddest machine to get out there. You might use your winch a bit more, but for the most part, you're keeping up with everyone else. So don't think you got to come into the sport and get payments for the next 10 years to enjoy it. Like even a stock machine, you know, within reason, you can do a lot of stuff. Or even if you just bolt on tires, you can do a lot of stuff just with that.
At the end of the ride, I was really impressed with Dave and the Ostacruiser brand. I mean, he gets it. It's because of fans that he's here, and he has a lot of respect both for them and the companies who come on board to help him out with his big builds.
Big part of it too is working with great companies, being able to showcase their parts, them helping you out on, say, a new build like this that's another part of it too. It's just really great to get support from an industry that you're really helping support also, you know, and through the videos, you get a guy watching your video and he sees something doing really well, and the next day he's out buying the same thing. So, and without them, you wouldn't be seeing half the build. You know, you'd be seeing very modest builds if it wasn't for people helping me out along the way.
Closed captioning of Dirt Trax is sponsored by Triton Trailer, built for adventure.
There comes a time when the realization of wants and needs rationalize themselves while still allowing for the comforts and options we truly use. For me, this rationalization happened after spending significant time with a vehicle that I tried not to like. Well, I said it. I tried not to like the Sportsman 570 SP. Sure, it's good looking, and yeah, it's got lots of features and benefits and stuff that you're actually going to use that'll be tangible. But it's a 570, and who really likes a 570? Truth be told, it wasn't that long ago that a big bore with 44 horsepower would have impressed us all. I mean, heck, the 2002 Sportsman 700 only had 45 horse, and we all drooled over that. What I'm getting at is this. I'm getting older, and while I still like big horsepower, loud pipes, and a healthy amount of wheel spin, I also recognize the need for a multi-purpose, work-and-play, budget-friendly vehicle that's going to give me every bit as much all-day trailer hauling, winch pulling, elbow grease hard work as it does weekend right thumb fun. And while the peanut gallery will no doubt roll their eyes and balk at the 570cc's, I'm here to tell you, heck, I'm even going to proclaim it. This 570 ain't no slouch. In fact, this little ProStar packs a lot of punch. With 44 horsepower available to you, the only drawback would be the chassis, and seeing as this is a 570, it must be a very basic chassis, right? Not so. The Sportsman SP means you get a whole lot more than automotive stealth black paint and slick blacked out cast aluminum rims. Yep, you get the same chassis as the big bores, and that means a true dual A-arm front and rear suspension, boasting 8.2 plus inches up front and 9.5 in the rear. But it can't ride that good. It's a 570, right? Well, actually, this was one of the areas where the SP won me over the most, changing my mind on what I had only assumed was an entry-level ATV. Polaris has always, in my mind, had suspension figured out. It's never been about being the lightest or the most unique in the suspension department. It's always been about working right and delivering top-notch suspension calibration. And the SP does all that. Off-camber power slides that I expected the front end to dive in, sharp, full-width washouts I braced for bottom-outs, and the always jarring phantom boulder I expected to tear the bars right out of my hands were simply not what I expected. The little 570, well, I guess I better quit referencing it as little, because truth is it's just as big as its big bore siblings, but it's, in one word, game-changing. I know that's 2 words, but I'm just making sure you're paying attention. The standard power steering, engine braking, and active descent control all add to the feature-packed SP branding. I'm not sure if SP stands for special, super Polaris, or surprisingly powerful, but it's all those things and also significantly persuasive, as it took my preconceived notions and delivered me a whole helping of humble pie, and it tastes pretty darn good. Now don't get your hip waders all in a knot. While I am a fan of the SP, there are some things that I would definitely take a rain check on. It's not so much that I don't like them, but it's just that I don't think that they're what the upgraded price tag calls for, and I'm talking about the CST 26-inch tires. I don't know if Polaris got a big lots deal on these things because it seems like every ATV they make comes with them, but I think something a little more, well, a bit more quality like the GBC Dirt Commander Polaris still uses on the 900S Razor would be a great fit. On the other end of the spectrum, from squirting a little dirt and playing on the weekend, the workability of the SP truly caught me off guard. Now, Polaris does make a utility edition with steel racks, but I'm just not that guy. I like me some clamshell storage and lock and ride smooth top racks. Not to mention, we're back to McPherson's up front if we go to the utility route. Now, with a 1,500-pound towing capacity and a really solid 280-pound rack capacity, that's 180 up front and 90 in the back, the SP really does pull its weight, and it's only 80 pounds shy in the rack capacity department from the big 1000 XP Sportsman. But get this, matching in towing capacity. When I objectively look at the 570 SP, I realize that a lot of the things that I had assumed have been turned upside down. A bunch of the things I thought that I was going to gripe about actually turned out to be praiseworthy, and much of what I had assumed about entry-level displacement really is now wiped away. I know there's a 400 class entry level, but I think most folks who've owned an ATV before and are coming from something a little larger in displacement category just won't look to or be happy with a 400 or a 450. But when it comes to the 570, there's just nothing at all in the true drawback department to keep me from swinging a leg over this ATV day after day, week after week, work or play. I know I'm gonna hear comments about how people think all we do is test Polarises and I'm pro Polaris, but the truth is I went into this test with expectations of disappointment. And I'll be honest, if you take out a 570 SP for a full day and put it through a real good ringing out, if you're not happy with it, well, there's definitely something wrong with one of us.
Dirt Trax Television has been sponsored by Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation, Can-Am, the ride says it all, and by Arctic Cat, share our passion.
Thanks for watching this segment of Dirt Trax TV. For more great content, make sure you click the links or subscribe to our channel where we're always updating with new content every day throughout the week.